Next to last game for the Lakers as the Spurs hit town. LA could still be anything from first to fourth in the West.
Go now. Let's go.
Game time.
Oh, they're fired up for this one. After knocking off the Hornets on Friday, they come out against the Spurs playing some D. Paul Gasol with a steal with a set. Tied the game at 17 after the Spurs took the early lead in a rocking house at Staples this afternoon. Sasha Vujacic with no Manu Ginobili to worry about. Starts connected from long range. They're up at the end of the first. Going to the second quarter, Tim Duncan, don't leave him in that position. He had 16 points and 12 boards, a rather quiet afternoon for Duncan. Kobe connects from three. Up and pump, Lakers led 44-41. Tony Parker trying to carry the day for the Spurs. Drives, nice jackknife, 20 points, 5 assists, 7 boards. Tied at halftime, Derek Fisher was on target. 6 of 9 from the floor. He had 14 in the game. Lakers starting to build the lead. Now, the end of the third quarter, Kobe had 5 assists. He gets this one to Fisher, who finds Gasol inside. Powell had a double-double. Oh, the rejection. Kobe gets sky high. Fisher has the ball, and he's looking. Vladimir alone in the lane. Lakers lead by 11. Time running down the third quarter. You want daggers? How about a machete? Amongst 4 Spurs, Kobe, as the clock went off, and his 2 daughters are voting for MVP. And the Lakers are starting to run away with this one. Kobe took the fourth quarter off, and they still won by 18. Knock him out of the building. Outscored him 53-32 in the second half. Kobe had 25 and 5, and they knocked the Spurs out of the conversation for the #1 seed. And they did it with something that's been a deficiency, defense. The Spurs hit less than a third of their shots in the second half, which clearly pleased Phil Jackson.
We came out and played a exceptional second half. We were on our heels at the end of the first half. Parker was jamming the ball down our throat, and we couldn't seem to find a way to stop him. And I thought second half we came out and made a good defensive stand. That's still a responsibility on our part, is to finish this up the right way. And that was our message in the locker room after the game.
The Lakers can now do no worse than third in the conference. They hold the tiebreaker over New Orleans and the Spurs, but Houston still holds the wild card in all this. The Rockets blew an opportunity tonight, which we'll show you later, but they still have 2 games left. And if they win out and the Lakers lose the finale Tuesday, they'll be the top seed in the West after beating the Lakers twice in 3 meetings this season. So it's unlikely, but they still have to get it done Tuesday at home against Sacramento. I know what his daughters thought of Kobe, and of course he gets the chance on the road as well with the MVP. Took the fourth quarter off and still had probably the most influential game for the Lakers.
Well, I mean, this has always been an argument about who had the best record in the West. That was the argument for Chris Paul, is that if New Orleans had the best record in the West, a team that no one expected to even make the playoffs this year, that he would be the leading MVP candidate. But now that the Lakers control their own destiny, don't be fooled, they're not going to lose to Sacramento. I say that, but they did lose some games they should have won. But anyway, assuming the Lakers do win that game, Kobe should not only win the MVP award, but I think he should win going away. And I think we were talking about this yesterday, Gary, that there was maybe a little bit of an undecided vote with certain voters, waited to see what would happen in the matchup with Chris Paul. And with the Lakers winning that game, Kobe having a near triple-double in that game, that I think that clinched it. So, yeah, I do expect Kobe to win the MVP award, and I expect the Lakers to win that game on Tuesday and cinch the #1 seed in the West. That is unbelievable, really, when you think about the injuries on this team.
Yep.
That they overcame. Of course, they would never have had Powell had Bynum not gotten hurt. A lot of things have worked their way.
The 1 seed is great, but you're going to change teams who you play. It's probably more interesting than anything. If they're 1, then they would probably face Denver. Now, I don't want to go too overboard on the defense, because I still think that's one of their big flaws. Ginobili, the Spurs leading scorer, is out of the game, or he may not be ready for the playoffs, but they did play great defense in the second half.
Well, they're going to have to, Gary. I mean, that's the whole thing for this team. If they're going to get to where they expect to be, and that's the NBA Finals, they're going to have to play better defense than they have for the majority of this season. And it really starts out at the point. Now, Tony Parker in the first half, once again, like we see with so many guards, it was like a sieve. Everyone says I use that word a lot, but every time I watch the Laker defense, I think of that word. But in the second half, they actually started putting bodies in front of Parker, And you see Pau Gasol making the block right there on Tim Duncan. So it'll be very important for D-Fish and Sasha and Jordan Farmer. These guys are going to be at the points. When you look at those point guards in the Western Conference, to at least slow these guys down. But I think that the depth of this team is really the difference maker for the Lakers.
Yeah, and they all played a pretty good role today, 6 in double figures. As we said, a dominant second-half performance by the Lakers on both ends of the floor. They held the Spurs to 32 points. They made just 11 baskets in the second half, nearly doubling them up on the boards. Really did them in the second half. Of course, we'll have plenty more on the Lakers and the Wild, Wild West later in the show. Top story, top seed in the West. The Lakers bury the Spurs in the final Sunday of the regular season, 106-85. Home court is theirs right now. With more from Staples, here's John Ireland.
Thanks, guys. The Lakers won this game with defense. They held the Spurs to just 32 points in the second half, and afterwards talked about the fact that this weekend, Friday against New Orleans, Sunday against the Spurs, was noticeably better all the way around defensively.
We made a conscious effort in the second half to stay on their corner shooters. You know, in the first half, we had an opportunity to kind of break the game open with 11-point leads and 9-point leads, and didn't even give up a couple corner threes. So we had to do a much better job being focused on who we were guarding.
The intensity and the concentration that we're putting out there, I think it's making a big difference. So when we play against teams that we respect and they're right there at the top with us, then I think we step it up.
So now the Lakers are in position to get the #1 seed in the Western Conference. A lot of talk about that after today's game and what it would mean to be at the top.
At this time of year, I've never been here before in my career. So it's important to win as many games as possible and win the Western Conference and get home court in the playoffs.
It's always good to be #1. I mean, that's what you always go for, is to be the best, and I think it'll be great for us. It's an accomplishment. I mean, you want to get as many of those as you can.
So we still don't know where the Lakers will be seated. We still don't know who the Lakers will play, but we know they're going to have a good seed and they're going to be going into the playoffs on a little bit of a roll. With the Lakers in Staples Center, I'm John Ireland. Back to you guys in the studio.
All right, Johnny. Now, our Carl's Jr. fan cam was out at Staples Center once again today. We always feature several of our favorite fans on our website, kcal9.com, including this youngster who's already thinking postseason.
Past years, Phoenix has won, and it's our chance now. And we should have beat them in the first round a couple years back. I think 2 years back we came close. It's our time now. This year is it.
Chris is going to probably finish with too high of a seed to face Phoenix. Nuggets trying to hold on to the playoff spot over the Warriors. Rockets still have a shot at the top seed, but they're fading out. Watch this. 6'6" Chuck Hayes denied by Allen Iverson and Eduardo Najera. Iverson also added 33 points in addition to the D. J.R. Smith is one of their most spectacular scorers. He had 23 off the bench. Nuggets win at 111-94, but Houston could still get the #1 seed if they win 2, but the Lakers would have to lose on Tuesday.
Yes, there's New Orleans still in the mix as well. Look,
Yeah.
Lakers control their destiny. That's
and
all
they're probably
know.
going to play that tattooed bunch from Denver in the playoffs.